back with the Firebird, and today we're going to be installing a handful of new parts, all of which have to do with the rear of the vehicle. So I'm going to go ahead and get it up in the air, get the tires off, and I'll go over everything I have in detail. Car's in the air, we got our auto drag 2.0s off, and the main mechanical change I want to make to the car is with the rear brakes. So as you can see, the Firebird already has a full set of Dynalite Pros on the front and the rear. They've been on there for several years. And I have decided, for a few reasons which I'll get into, to go from Dynalite Pros to Dynalites. So the Dynalite Pros and Dynalite non-Pros are effectively the same brake kit. The difference is, so this rotor, as you see, is vented. It's all one piece, and then there is a parking brake built in there. We've never had it hooked up. It's just kind of chilling the way it is. But now we are going to Dynalites. So Dynalites have just a one-piece bracket that's made out of aluminum. That's much lighter than the one that's back there. The rotor is now a two-piece with an aluminum hat. And then we've got a non-vented steel rotor for that. I went ahead and got a full set of Dynalite non-pros because they come with the caliper and everything, because my idea is that, so this car, we've never used the parking brake feature because it's automatic, it doesn't need it. However, the El Camino, this has always had its own set of Dynalite Pros in the front. I've just never done the rears, but because it's a manual transmission, it desperately needs a parking brake. So my idea is to take the parts that I no longer need off of this. So take the main backing plate, the rotor, swap that onto this car, and then keep these calipers in this car, keep it all plumbed, and then have a new set of calipers for the El Camino. And then the next set of mods are mostly cosmetic, but they do save a little bit of weight. So I've always hated the way the back of this car looks. The wings falling apart, it's got this big chunk missing. And then the rear tail panel, it's missing a bunch of paint, it's also flaking off. I picked this up. So this is from Classic Industries. This is a all black plastic one-piece tail panel, and it looks a lot like a Berger panel off of like a Camaro, since they always do the black rear panels. Then as far as the wing, I have this one. I've had this for many years. It's not painted. We might mock it up, see how it looks, but I also might just totally delete the wing. And then there's the stuff that I've already done off camera. So back last December for Power Tour, I talked about how I cut most of the structure out of the trunk, and I also removed the latch. I've now taken that a step further. So now we've got 3 pins. The entire trunk has been converted to pin-on. So as you can see, I decided to go pretty crazy. So every single inner structure layer, all the mounting, that's all long gone. Both hinges here and here, those are both fully removed. Underneath this thin panel, there's all the tension rods. Those are all completely gone. So you can see the latch that's been removed a long time ago. And then I also decided to completely remove the rear firewall. So despite the fact that this car is not very small, this trunk opening is not that big. So it is kind of annoying to get stuff in and out. So in order to do as much like drag and drive stuff as possible, that's why I cut that out. So you can see if I come in from here, it's a lot easier because it's all just one big area in space now. The one thing is that tech inspections don't like having the battery be in the passenger compartment. Obviously, since I don't have a fuel cell, it's just an aluminum tank. I'm not really worried about that, where the battery and the tank are in the same area. However, because of the whole, passenger compartment, I did order this. So this is a Moroso battery box. It's all NHRA approved, very high quality. So I'm using the rods from it right now to put that there, but I'm gonna figure out where I can put this, where I can shove it and hide it, so that this is all nice and sealed, all nice and vented, and everyone at the tech inspection is happy. I've also kept every single piece of metal that I've already cut. So there's around 30-ish pounds, but what I'm gonna do is collect it all, weigh it all, then all of the difference of that weight, weigh that all as well. And then, like I said before, I might ditch the wing. I know that wing is 5 pounds. That one's probably the same weight. I think I might like the look of no wing, so we'll see how light the wing is. And in order to replace this, I have to pull the bumper. So I might pull the bumper off. It might look kind of dumb with no bumper, but if it looks good with no bumper and it weighs anything, we'll leave that off too. So I'll go ahead and I'll start with the brakes, since that's a less fun job. So we got the caliper off sitting over there. I can pull the rotor off. And now you can see, so here's the factory parking brake mechanism that has never been used. Now I just need to take off the fancy Moser diff cover we have, pull out the C-clips, slide out the axles so we can get off the old backing plates. So this one we got like 11.4, right about 6. So that means about 5 pounds a corner, 10 pounds total of rotating unsprung mass gone from going from a lightweight to a super lightweight. Now the part of the job I was least looking forward to. So we have our fancy Moser aluminum diff cover off. Exposed is our Eaton True Track with our 373 motive gears. So what I need to do is get this pin off, get this like plate thing out. I can then shove the axles in a little bit, pull the C-clips, slide the axles out, and then as soon as the axles are out, I can put everything back together because the new style does not actually go behind the axle. So I got the snap ring, the retaining pin, all that out, and both C-clips out. So now we can just slide the axles out. And then access these 4 bolts, which are obviously behind for these. So now the 4 bolts are out, and also these are the bolts that are from your original axle. So you reuse those. Now we can just pull this off. Now that that's off, we can get a weight difference. So there's not a whole lot here. It's pretty well designed as far as a little compact parking brake. But we've got like 3.5 pounds. This guy is only like half a pound. So that means that you've got 3 pounds, 3 pounds, 5, 5. So that's like 15 pounds going from a lightweight to a super lightweight. That's honestly a lot more than I was expecting. But for someone like me that wants to lose every single pound, it's definitely glad I'm going with Dynalite. It is fully on. All I need to do now is slide the axle back in so that the rotor can sit where it sits. And then this will go back on right around here. And then I shim it to make it even. And then that's basically just about it. Axles in. I haven't put the back cover on yet. I'll do that once I know I'm totally done with this. Next is just slipping the rotor on. And then the rotor, I notice, isn't concentric anymore with the hub, so it kind of floats around, so I'll have to center it. And then we just take the caliper that was already all connected like this, and then I'll be bolting it on, and then it comes with a bunch of shims, and then we shim it to center the caliper. So this side's all about wrapped up. I had to run about an 8 stack of shims to get this thing, as you can see here, that's centered right about there. But now I'm gonna go ahead and go to the other side, which I've been working on, to talk about some stuff that's unique to Firebird, Camaro, and Novas. We are on the driver's side. The kit comes with these 2 brackets, which will put both calipers rear of the axle. However, if you have a 68 and later F-body car or X-body car, it has staggered shocks. So that shock on that side is in front, this shock is in back. And if you try to run this back where it goes, so it'll look like it'll almost fit, but the port here will want to contact the shock and everything wants to be in that same spot. So originally what we had when we first did the Dynalite Pro kit, we had a relocation bracket up here. I was hoping that maybe I could get away with putting it back here, but it's still in the way. So what I did is I actually went ahead and ordered a second set of these brackets. They only sell them in pairs, unfortunately, but I got a second bracket. So this is another passenger side bracket that I have flipped this way, so it's mirrored the other side. So that means this one is going to be up here and frontward. So yeah, if you have a kit, or have an application rather, that where you need to relocate it forward, you need 2 passenger side brackets. We got everything bolted up. This side only needed a single shim, so it's pretty much centered. The entire install was actually pretty painless. The hardest part was messing around with the diff, which it always is. But now that that's done, I'll put fluid in a little bit, but now we get to move on to cosmetics. Now in order to change the back panel, which is the next thing I'm going to do, the whole bumper has to come off. That's why I was hoping that it looks cool without it and that it's heavy. We can lose more weight. So I'm going to go ahead and get all that off. All right, I think that's all the bolts. Oh, that's one more. One bolt was seized, we had to cut it. Get this thing off. Yeah, it's got some decent weight to it. I can't decide if that looks good or not. I think it does, simply because this bumper was such a pain to pull off. So here's the bolt that had to get cut through because it had seized in its nutsert over there, and I couldn't get those off. Yeah, so it's the nuts are still, that's still all there. So yeah, I'll weigh this thing right now, see how much it weighs, but now we can also get to the fiberglass. So I weighed this thing real quick. It's too hard to try to film and weigh it because it's so awkward. But this thing is 17.5 pounds, which is way heavier than I thought it was. So that means with this bumper gone, the brakes done, that's already 32 pounds. Plus I have all the metal that I'm gonna weigh. So that's another almost like 30 pounds. So yeah, this thing is way down and that bumper's definitely not going back on. And I'm now on the hunt for a fiberglass bumper to replace it. Mostly because there's really no other chrome left on the car anyway. So yeah, I'm glad that I'm keeping it off. So I think I just about have this thing out. Just gonna get my positive cutoff switch. And then I think I can leave the headlights, the license plate's gone. And here we go. Cool. So yeah, this broken pile of garbage fiberglass original is going away. So I've got both tail panels sitting here. I decided might as well weigh both. All right, so the old one, 4 pounds, and the new one is only like 2 pounds. So there we go. There's another 2 pounds in just the tail panel changing. Right, so let me get this thing in. I got my hole drilled for my cutoff. So I actually spent the entire rest of yesterday getting this thing where I wanted it to. It came on and off like 10 different times, getting it all dialed in. So I got the headlights in, I've got my cutoff switch in, the license plate is back on with the fold down. I have the light ran in a hole up there. I'm probably gonna make that bigger. And then this folds down. I got my plate filler behind there. This is temporarily permanent. And that looks pretty good in there. So yeah, now pretty much the last thing is to pull the wing off, because yeah, I think it'll look good with no wing, and then weigh all the metal, and that's it. So I went through all my records, and this trunk, this whole deck lid, before I cut anything, was 31.5 pounds. So with all the structure cut out of it, it's like 19.5. So it's lost 12 so far. And now I'll see what the wing section weighs. Basically, all the screws holding it in, they're all spun. I had to basically break them all off, but this is off now. You can see all that fiberglass is all gone. And this thing is actually decently heavy. I've got these studs here, so I'll take care of this next, and then let me weigh this. About 6.5, so there we go. Heavier than the other one. I got the deck lid mostly cleaned up. It looks kind of bad. Looks like it's got like a bad tan line, but I'm almost thinking about this panel and this panel, maybe sanding them, painting them black, just, you know, have the thing be half black. But let me go ahead and weigh it. So like 13. So 31-ish minus 13. That's what, 18? So yeah, this thing's 18 pounds. It's also a lot easier to wheel around now without that big weight on the back. But I'm pretty happy with how that looks and how that fits. And then now just to do the little winglets. Luckily, the winglets actually came out pretty easy. That's mostly because they were barely hanging on to begin with. Unfortunately, whoever installed them did these 2 giant holes there, 2 giant holes there, so not exactly a precision install. And I do overall like the way this looks. The problem is that because it's been on for so long, it's got like this giant tan line. I'm thinking I might end up taking this off, sanding it, doing it primer black or something. This panel, just slowly making every removable panel black. I plan on ordering fiberglass doors soon, so those are also, you know, more removable black panels. And then as far as the weight goes, so I believe we've got, so it's 15 pounds, minus 2 pounds, minus 18, and then I just weighed these are 1.5. So I believe that makes, what, 38? My math was right when I did it before. And yeah, so 38 pounds just with this stuff. Now let me just grab some leftover metal from the buried in the firewall and weigh that. So here's a collection of garbage, all the stuff that I cut. Some of this stuff is the other stuff that I removed. Then of course I forgot the bumper. So the bumper's another 17, so 38, I think 55. So that means, so I'm 55 down. The last time this car was on a scale, it was 2750. So that's why I'm trying to collect everything at once. So let me just get this weight. Technically, even with that down, we should be under 27. And this is probably another 30-ish. So let me figure out how to weigh this. All right, so I got all that garbage in a black trash bag. Hopefully it stays together. So 25. That means the 55 pounds of all of that plus the 25 of that means 80 pounds, which is way more than I was expecting. Granted, 17 of that is the bumper literally missing, but there's actually a little bit more weight I lost. I'm not going to count it. So up here, I used to have a big cold case radiator that was technically like a swap size, so it was really big. I decided to remove that, and currently there's just a stock 4th gen single core plastic radiator. This thing's way lighter than that one. But the reason why I swapped that in is since this has stock 4th gen, accessories, water pump, yada, 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 I wanted to use the completely stock 4th gen hoses. So this is an uncut 4th gen Camaro LS1 hose, same thing with the lower. And then I have the same lean like before. I still haven't finished this bracket. I'm gonna figure out where to put it. But my idea is I wanna put another, fancy aluminum radiator, but have it be designed for a 4th gen car. So I'm not considering any of that weight. One other mod that I did off camera is, it's really hard to see, but down in there, I finally put an underdrive pulley on this thing. So the belt, let's see, so this motor would shift at 67, and then when the next motor goes in, that one, that shifts at 7,000. So I wanted to slow the belt speed down, especially since I don't have power steering or anything. So it's got an ATI 25% underdrive. And that's also nice because it's SFI approved, because every time I race, they go, hey, are you SFI this, SFI that? That's one more thing, SFI. I think that just about wraps it up. The only thing left to do is put the tires on, get it back on the ground. I already got the diff all back together, but yeah, I'm really interested to see what this thing looks like driving around. So I figure I might as well finish this video off with a little bit of test hits. So I got the thing out in the open. I got the Nova being a chase vehicle, wearing my Convo Pros. Yeah, I'm mostly happy with what it looks like. It's kind of, it looks like stuff's missing simply because of the, the giant tan line and then all the bumper and all the holes. But yeah, it's basically exactly what I was looking for. I'm probably gonna paint some of those tail panels and stuff. Yeah, but now I want to try some little test hits. I'll see if I can make it not spit on the street. I'm not trying to do a burnout, but see what happens. Right, so that was pretty uneventful, but overall, I'm pretty happy with the way this thing looks, and we're happy with the way the thing performs. Obviously, it's a little underpowered, but it's perfect for the way it is right now. Power tours in, I think, about 5 weeks, so I'll bring this. It'll probably go only maybe a little bit faster than it did last time, but that's fine for now. But now that this thing is pretty dialed, I can focus my energy on this. So obviously the brake system is now ready to go on for the rear. I also want to, get aluminum master cylinder, put line lock on this since it's a stick. So still figuring out all those parts. The other main big change I want to do is I want to run a fuel injection style fuel system. So basically a in-tank pump, just like the Firebird, but then bypass regulated like somewhere on the firewall down to carburetor pressure. And when both of those things are finally done, then I'll finally turn my attention to actually putting in this thing's LS engine. So stay tuned for all of that.